Greetings, guitar hackers. Today, I'm going to start a series that's going to go over about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm going to show you how to hot rod a piece of junk guitar that you found on Craigslist for almost no money. Now, for this example, I bought a guitar off of Craigslist the other day for $80. They said that the wiring was going bad and the pots were wrecked. We were going to change those anyway. So what I bought is a 2001 RG series. I've already started to sand it. I'm going to turn it into a bit of a soloist so I can have a little bit more room for the hand, and it's going to look a little different in here rather than the real tight edges of a standard Ibanez RG. This does have the AANJ, which is the first thing we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is beef up a neck joint. Do you have that guitar that's got the big crack starting right here at the neck joint? Or do you think your guitar just really needs a little bit more sustain, a little bit more punch? We're going to show you how to do that, because the first thing we're going to do, we're going to beef up that neck joint. I normally do it with some pretty exotic materials. I went to Walmart, I bought the biggest junk we can find because I think it's going to be almost as good as the materials that I use. I went to Walmart, what did I buy? First thing I bought is a couple carbon fiber arrows. You're going to find that when you go to your typical sports store or Walmart or Amazon, there's 2 different diameters of arrow. Now this is, I think, a 3/8. If you take the arrow, sand a little bit off the smaller one and make sure the ID or internal diameter of the other one is nice and clean, they actually slide into each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to get twice the strength of an arrow by putting one arrow inside the other. Now, we can do multiple. I normally do 2 on my AANJs. I do 2 holes. I drill one that comes from here, goes through those 2 bolts, and goes into the meat of the guitar into here. Obviously, I made a little grip, so I can't go very far that way. So I may go one that way, and then one directly parallel with the neck. We want to stop before we get to that cavity, but that's about where we're going to aim our drill. So, how do we stop in time? I have right here a kind of a long drill bit. This is the diameter of the smaller of the 2 arrows, so if you don't want to do one arrow inside the other, get a drill bit that's about the outside diameter of the arrow. You figure out how far it can go in before it goes through the cavity. You make a mark right there, and you put a piece of tape right there where your thumbnail is. Let me go put a piece of tape, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, normally when I drill a body, I drill a lot of bodies, so I bought this wood bit, which can drill pretty much all the way through the body and put a very long piece of carbon fiber in there. But today we're going to talk about this guy right here, just because this is probably closer to the drill bit you're going to find. I put my blue piece of tape on there, and that tells me, when I get that blue piece of tape to the very edge, I am just about far enough to stop. That tells me I do not want to break into that body cavity because I'm going to pour some resin in. I don't want it to pour all out. I want it to seep into the wood, and I want it to hang on to the carbon fiber that we put in there. So I'm going to do 2 in this guitar. I'm going to do 1 straight through here, but I have to stop before I get to my grip, obviously. And then I'm going to put 1 directly the length of the parallel with the neck. That is the one that gives the most strength. That's the one that you're going to use the most and hear the most. So if you're only going to do 1 hole, do it straight to there, stop right before you get to the cavity, and you're going to be good. Okay, so we talked about getting some carbon fiber arrows from Walmart or somewhere online. Same kind of thing with the fiberglass resin I'm going to use. I don't use this in my real life. I don't build a boat out of this, but I'm going to use the same materials that I'm going to show you to use. That way I can get the exact results that you're going to get. So, I've got this guy. I'm going to use that in just a second, but before we do that, we've got some holes drilled, and we need to figure out exactly how long the arrows we need. So we're going to stick them in the holes, and again, mark it with your thumbnail, and that is going to be the length that you need to cut that arrow at. So I've got 1 going in this way, which has actually got to be cut back because it's going in the same exact hole as the one that's going that way. So this is the smaller arrow. I can measure either, but I'm going to put a piece of tape on this. That's as long as that is going to be. and then I'm going to do the same and take a little bit off of it, put the blue mark right about there, and that'll tell me how long I need to cut the arrows. So let's do that, and we'll get back to showing you what we're going to do next. Okay, so what I do is I take this drill and a little bit of sandpaper, put the arrow in the drill, and I sand the outside of the arrow. The reason I'm going to do this is that fiberglass resin needs something to actually reach in and grab that arrow. If it's perfectly shiny on the outside, it doesn't reach in and really grab and become one. So now that I've sanded it up and it's rough on the outside, now that resin's going to grab into the outside of that arrow and they're going to become one. The resin that gets into the wood and soaks in, and the resin that soaks into this, they're going to become one big piece rather than just a piece of carbon fiber sitting in a body wiggling around. So that's the way I do it. Give it a try. Okay, I found a little container. I mixed up all my resin. I filled my body cavity. I left it down probably about that much, but made sure all the sides were getting nice and saturated. I put my side arrow in first and then cleared it to make room for my big arrow. My big arrow went down. I drove it in with a hammer just a little bit. Don't hit it real hard, but just enough that it sinks into that first little layer of wood at the bottom of our drill hole. Now, if you've gone too far, if you drilled a little bit too far, which I've done before, put a little piece of tape right over that back body cavity. It won't drip through, so you're good to go. This stuff will, as you put the arrows in, it will drip over. Have a rag handy. Wipe it up. This resin cleans up with acetone or mineral spirits. If you want to get really crazy, or you're going to do this a lot, get a 50-50 mix between the two. That's your best cleanup idea. I love using a wooden stir stick. Why? It's showing me what's happening in the neck. This whole portion of the stick is going to be super flexible tomorrow. That portion down there is going to be super stiff. Why? Because it saturated that resin in and now it's hard as a rock. So what have we done? We've taken what the guitar manufacturers are doing. They're cutting down our neck joint, which is a good thing. Gives us more room for our thumb, more room for our hand when we're shredding up by the higher frets. But they've taken a little bit of the meat away to hold all of our vibrations together. So we're giving it back without giving more mass. We're not beefing up the neck joint in size-wise. We're just strengthening it. So this is going to make a difference in your guitar. If you're following along and doing what I'm doing to this guitar, in about 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have a really cool guitar. So this is step one, in my opinion. Stiffen up that neck joint. Thanks for watching. I hope this worked out for you. If not, or if it did, please leave some comments. Or if you have questions, please ask them or send me a direct email. I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thank you very much. Buzz Miller, Wannabe Studios. Let's make a better guitar. Keep on rocking.